Hey, what's up, Gamingtrend? We're over here with Kieran from Larian Studios, and he's going to tell us a little bit about Divinity Original Sin, which is a board game version of the video game, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially it's become a trend now in the board game space. These adventure games, right? I mean, yeah, if we're gonna do an adaptation of our video game, kind of difficult to do it to our experience. So we wanted to give you a full-on adventure. So it is a full-on adventure game. Exactly. Yeah, it's a board game adaptation.
So, for those who aren't familiar with the original video game, what's the world like? What are we doing here?
So Divinity, the world of Divinity is a fantasy world, as you can probably imagine. But one of probably the most interesting things that players coming from other systems will notice, if you haven't played the video games, is that actually Divinity is a classless system. So if you want to tackle with the magic in our world, you can do whatever you want. So if you want to be a fireball wielding rogue, if you want to be a ranger who dabbles in necromancy, if you want to just go pure wizard but you want to be messing with all four elements and not just two, you can do that. And then the other side of it is that the video game actually has a lot of systemics in there. So if I make it rain and the water has puddles on the ground, or the ground has puddles on the ground, you can then use an electricity spell to electrify those puddles, and anybody in that will then get electrified. So we had a big challenge trying to get all of that into a tabletop analog experience. But yeah, you can still do all of those combos. You can actually combo off the various elements, and also you can build these characters in a completely free way. You can either go complete jack of all trades. I'm going to try and take a card of every skill when I level up. Or you can focus on one or two skills and level up and really become powerful in that one space.
Very cool, very cool. So let's take a look at what we got on the board. I mean, it looks like we kind of got some character upgrades. We've got a little bit of adventuring using a book. So talk us through what we got.
Yeah, so what you're seeing right now is actually the tutorial level.
Okay.
That's why you've got a lot of these white boxes. It's really the way the game is set up. We actually give you a rule book. It's about 40 to 45 pages, but that's actually a lot of illustrations in there. You only need to read, I think, the first 15, and then you can jump into the tutorial and learn as you play, right? So that's why you're seeing a lot of text. But effectively, a location is about 1 hour of play. The book here is filled with 50 locations. You're only going to experience about 15 to 18 of those, and you play through those. So there's a lot of replayability. And most importantly for us, there's a lot of narrative choice and consequence.
Okay.
If your party decides to do something important, the game will react to that, right? So that's why there's a lot of reactivity. But yeah, so when you go to a location like this, you're going to see all of these basically these picture boxes, which are essentially scenes, but you can explore as you will. So if I want to go over here, you want to go over there, we're going to pull these cards, read the front of it, flip it over, read the back of it, and then basically make some key decisions if some things are going to happen. But once an enemy is spawned, right, when we're putting the enemies out over here, it goes, the next round is no longer exploration, it's now combat.
Okay.
And the combat then, it turns into an abstract grid. This is now adjacent to this, but this is not adjacent to this. So the boards, as you can imagine, this is a tutorial, get a little bit more complex and a little bit more detailed. And so even though it's not necessarily your traditional like hex crawl or square-based dungeon, there is a lot of tactical movement involved in the actual combat as well.
Very cool. So how does combat work? Is it looks like there's some dice system, or is it a head-to-head type of system? How do you...
Well, it's a complete co-op, first of all, yeah. But yeah, it's the combat works in a very basic initiative. Enemies will either spawn as fast or slow.
Okay.
You'll put them out here, and basically fast enemies will go before the party. It doesn't matter what order, you just do whatever order you want. The party will go to the origins. That's what we call our characters in our system. And when the party goes, you guys decide. You want to go first because you've got a cool idea, you go for it. The only stipulation with that is you must finish your turn before I finish my turn, right? And then the slow enemies go. When you're taking your turn, you're gaining action points, which is this little track here that you're seeing. So if I'm like, I get 4 action points at the beginning of my turn, so I'll add 4 action points. I then spend those. You'll notice that every single action, including basic swords, to my skills, have an action point cost. I will spend my action points and do the thing I want to do. What's another cool thing from the video game is that if you want, you can save your action points for the following turn. That's why the track goes up so high. So it's perfectly possible you get your 4 action points and you're like, you know what, guys, I'm fine, I'm chilling, I'm just going to wait. And then next turn you can have 8 action points and you can do a massive alpha strike with all of your abilities if you want to. Abilities are a little bit different. You're going to see that some of them have essentially a cooldown marker, and that means that when I use that ability, it goes onto my cooldown slot, And at the beginning of next turn, it's going to slide down to 1, and then at the beginning of the next turn, you're going to get it back in your hand and you can use it again. So that's kind of how we balance some of the abilities.
Yeah. So it seems like it's a lot of kind of managing your turns, managing when you want to play a specific attack, a little bit of some movement on the board as you're trying to get through that. Very cool.
And and one of the things that I think is a real standout for me is actually that everything you can do is in your play area. So while it is a very detailed and deep adventure game, there's a lot of crunch in the rules there if you want it to be. Your moment-to-moment gameplay, we worked very, very hard to reduce that cognitive load and not overwhelm you. Your moment-to-moment gameplay is actually very smooth because everything you can do is in front of you. And your options that you can't do are down your cooldown track, so you can't do them anyway, right? So, and what we really want to encourage with that is because of those combos that I described earlier with the video game, like if I have, I've got cards here like rain and electric discharge, right? If I make the area rain, it will make the area wet, right? Electric discharge then will normally just hit one person, but if I electric discharge an area that's wet, it will hit everybody. And that's how we do the combos, but all those combos are on the cards. And then as you're doing stuff and you're doing stuff over there, you're going to realize, oh, we can combo off each other. So it actually becomes a very cooperative experience once you guys get familiar with your abilities.
So when you're cooperative, I'm guessing that there's probably a little bit of friendly fire that could happen?
Oh, that's a thing that can certainly happen for sure. Yeah, if you hit an area and your friends are in there, they're going to get hit. But, I said you can decide who goes first and who goes second. So it's really up to you guys to figure out what the best play is. And if sometimes the best play is, unfortunately, to, burn your friend.
Yeah, I get that. So, well, it sounds like a lot of fun. There's a lot of different video game to board game adaptations, and this looks very intriguing. So I'll be excited to kind of look at it and get it to the table if we can. So, yeah. Well, and if somebody wanted to get their hands on this, how do they do that?
So it is actually available online. You can go to, I believe it's boardgame.divinity.com.
Okay.
Actually, let me make sure that we... Yeah, boardgame.divinity.game, actually, not
.game.
But yeah, if you go to our merch store as well, the Larian merch store, it's there. But yeah, it's available to buy online and it ships direct. So like if you order today, you'll get it within a few days.
All right, sounds good. Well, make sure you guys check out Divinity Original Sin and make sure you stay tuned to Gamingtrend for all of your gaming news, reviews, and previews.